This video is sponsored by Tej Hanley. I'm someone who's read a lot of self-help books. You could say I've had an addiction for them.
Why didn't I sleep more? Why?
It'll take more than that to kill a bull moose.
You're my assistant now. I need you to assist me. In many of the productivity books that I've read, there's this delineation between being the boss and the worker. When you're the boss, you're deciding for what the actual work is that you want to do. And then there's actually being the worker, following through on the work that you've given yourself. This creates an immediate conflict and serious potential for indecision about which role your attention should have at different times of the day. Not knowing which portion of your day should be attributed to being a boss or a worker creates a sort of malaise where you just always feel like you're not doing the right thing. For me, the solution to this problem came from a system that I read in the book, How to Be a Productivity Ninja. I would highly recommend it. In fact, it's the best book on productivity that I've ever read. And the author gives a number of great suggestions on how to manage your attention, your energy, so that you're the boss when you need to be, and you are your own worker when you need to be. Your new friend in the battle against stress and information overload is managing your attention and simultaneously managing your energy levels. Have you ever gotten to the end of the day where you still have loads to do, you're still motivated to do it, you have all the tools and information you need to actually go ahead and do that work, but you're just like in a food coma and you just can't get yourself to do anything other than surf Instagram? Under those circumstances, you'll often tell yourself you ran out of time, but what you really ran out of was attention to give. It's often been said that time is our greatest currency, but that's only half true. A real great source of our currency is our attention, because attention is our potential with our time. Without it, we're just spending the time that we have potential with, just not managing our energy well, just staring into space. Time might be spent, but attention still needs to be paid. Look after this currency as it's the most valuable currency in the world. The author of How to Be a Productivity Ninja says, time plus the right attention and focus equals done. And that really is where the source of achievement and satisfaction, that good tired from spending your day productively, comes from. So how should we structure our lives, our days, our mental lives in a way where we can have more mental clarity and get more things done? It starts by understanding how much actual proactive attention you have. It's been said that we've got like 12 to 16 hours a day to be productive. We spend 8 hours sleeping, 4 hours just in chaos, using the bathroom, doing the dishes, driving around. But really, when it comes to proactive attention, where you're really clear, really focused, and you actually genuinely have the capacity to do things that matter, I would argue that it only comes down to 2 to 3 hours per day. In an average day, you will have different levels of attention. Proactive attention is where you're fully focused, alert, in the zone, and ready to make the most important decisions or tackle your most complex tasks. This level of attention is extremely important, and whenever you find that you do have the capacity to have proactive attention, what you really should do is just not take on any of the responsibilities, because that proactive attention is like a diamond. It's like your most valuable thing. Then there's active attention. This is where you're plugged in, ticking along, but maybe you're slightly flagged, you're slightly overloaded. You're easily distracted, occasionally brilliant, but you're often sloppy too. And lastly, there is inactive attention. This is where the lights are on, you are technically awake, but there's no one really at work. There's not much brain power left, and you're likely to struggle with complex or difficult tasks. Your attention here isn't worthless, but its value is limited. So if we only have 2 to 3 hours of proactive attention each day, how should we structure our day? My friend Ali Abdal says that the most important thing that you can do when establishing a productive day is something called the highlight of the day. Basically, you've got probably 2 to 3 great hours where you're super, super sharp. You should determine the success of your day in just using those 2 to 3 hours as best as you can. And you don't need to hustle and slog for 16 hours to get that feeling. In fact, if you can just isolate your proactive attention and decide that something really needle moving, something really valuable needs to come out of those 2 to 3 hours, that is enough to generate that feeling of, wow, today something significant happened and I wasn't just transitioning in limbo. Once you start to focus on your attention levels, you'll realize that it's such a criminal waste of time to be doing anything less than the most important thing when you are on, when you've got that special proactive attention. For instance, if you do find that, oh my gosh, I'm totally clear, I'm super sharp right now, it's like a complete waste of time to do something like a brainstorming session with your business partner, or to even go for a workout, honestly. What you should be doing when your brain is completely on is just 2 to 3 hours of work of your most intense, most intellectually demanding, deep work. And if you can do that, the day is an immense win. In fact, those 2 to 3 hours will have been more valuable than the entirety of a week where you were doing less significant things, even if they were still important. So when there is a period of proactive attention, when you've got those proactive hours, here are some things you could be doing. Key decisions, project planning. For me, that's often writing out scripts for YouTube videos, because in order to make something valuable, in order to say something meaningful, it takes a lot of cognitive power. So when you do have a period of proactive attention, make sure you're only doing those key disciplines. For periods of active attention, you could do things like day-to-day ticket items. For me, that's things like research, reading a book, emailing people, editing YouTube videos, taking on phone calls with people, or going into a meeting. These things do require some level of alertness, but it's definitely not as valuable as that proactive attention. And finally, there's periods of your day, and every day has these, even for people like Gary Vaynerchuk, where you just have inactive attention. And what do I like to do when my attention is inactive? Things like respond to YouTube comments. I actually really pride myself on engaging with the community because I'm so freaking grateful that anyone watches any of my videos. Or doing the laundry, or cleaning up my inbox, cleaning up my space. In the world of self-help, this is a concept that isn't talked about enough. I get the sense that people don't spend enough time acknowledging the fact that our energy levels do rise and wane during the course of a day, and the work that we assign ourselves should align with our energy rhythms. A quick word from today's video sponsor, Tej Hanley. So this is a funny, true story. I'd actually reached out to Tej like 3 or 4 months ago to see if they would sponsor one of my videos. As someone who now looks at his face like 3 to 4 times a week, I have started noticing lines on the face, you know, just the earliest signs of aging. Even though I'm at a strapping, relatively young age of 27, it's been on my mind to maybe address this. Maybe I should have a skincare routine. And for someone who grew up on Alpha M, when you think of skincare, you definitely think of Tej Hanley, and I wanted to try them out, and yet those guys turned me down until I made the Alpha M parody video, and I'm being completely genuine when I say it felt glorious. Putting Tej on my face, it felt like mintiness, just radiance. Just putting on Tej, it felt like God jizzed on my face. Actually, no, I'm being completely serious when I say it's genuinely a fantastic product. If you're thinking about starting a skincare routine but you don't know where to start, I would definitely highly recommend checking out Tej Hanley. It actually lives up to the hype. It's a fantastic product. I went with the most extreme version of the product that includes an anti-aging serum and an eye cream. And I do appreciate that there are like instructions to go with it that tells you what you should be putting on in the morning and what you should be putting on before you retire for the night. Click the link in the description box to get a great discount, and thank you Tej Hanley for sponsoring this video. There are a few other productivity tips in accordance with just managing your energy levels. One of them is to have a morning routine. It really does protect you from distraction to have some sort of ritual to start off your day, to prime your brain. My best bet is to work out early in the morning, meditate after my workout. Having invested this time in my morning routine, I find that I'm much more cogent, much more sharp, just much more lucky with my work. Another thing that helps is to keep your space as clean and elegant as possible. I do a lot of cleaning related stuff during the evenings or after lunch when I know my focus will be bad, when I am in that inactive attention period. And that clarity and that cleanliness does help me accomplish more. Productivity tip number 3, remember that most information is close to worthless. In the age of information, it seems like everything is an opportunity. That next book, that next meeting, or that next collaboration idea, or this great entrepreneurial thing that you could start working on. But really, 99% of it is a distraction from just that one highlight that you should be doing each day. So don't get too hyped up by the majority of things. Don't think you need that next book. Hell, you don't even need that next YouTube video, okay? The next tip is to create systems that will increase your attention levels over time. Finally, at the age of 27, I'm just starting to feel the effects of diet on the body. I used to just eat whatever I want. I had once read an author say that there's really no good reason not to take care of yourself as if you were some Olympic athlete. Life itself is the greatest athletic event. Just work out more, meditate more, ideally eat a more nutritionally dense diet.
First go and eat your food. Then your
Mom, I'm trying to make cinematic video.
The final time management tip that I really love is something called the Chord Productivity method. Basically, anytime you get an idea, you want to be able to collect it, to have a place where you note it down. I put down everything that I can ever think of for anything I ever want to do on Notion, because I wouldn't be a productivity YouTuber if I didn't use Notion. The next thing is to organize it. You realize that of these ideas that I've collected, what should go where? What should I utilize? The R in the Chord productivity system is review. Just review what you did last week and review what makes sense on your calendar for what you would take off that collect and organize list. And lastly, do. The do habit works best when you just turn your brain off, because overthinking is a huge, huge liability for any creative or any entrepreneur. And I'll end the video with saying something that I think is very, very significant. It will never be perfect. Chances are this is not the first productivity video you've watched, and like me, you have some sort of weird addiction where you do read self-help books, self-help articles, or watch YouTube videos in this terrain. And there is this like etheric sense of, you know what? Eventually, one day, all the systems and everything is gonna align in a way where it's all gonna look great. One of the reasons that I've always loved the movie Fight Club is because of this understanding that things will never be perfect. That's just a delusion that we tell ourselves. On some level, you will always feel behind, always feel as if there's something more you could be doing, or that your system could become more elegant, and that's completely okay. The addiction of self-help and the idea of perfection is a deep fallacy, and it's one that I think we can largely ignore. But for those of us who are willing to schedule our work based on our attention levels, maybe have a morning routine to prime our day, keep a clean environment, remember that most information is close to worthless, at least for you. And finally, for those of us who decide to use Tiege Hanley, I'm just kidding, but Tiege is great. For those of us who realize it will never be perfect, to us I say, greatness is coming. See you guys in the next one.